somewhat exaggerated the height of the walkie-talkie. It may happen, we cannot know, but we should look ahead. Capability ground, planting trees which were going to mature in 100, 200 years' time. That's the duty of our profession, to look ahead. These are the points I want to make, and then I'm going to ramble about a little bit, making some serious points and some whimsical points, and you'll have to decide for yourselves when I'm serious and when I'm whimsical. But these are all serious points. It's very important for the City of London to look back to its history. We need to conserve and protect and respect and love its heritage. It's also very important to look to the future. And I think that part of the reason that these funny buildings have been able to creep in is that there has been a lack of a future vision as to how London might be. A second point is that I dislike the fact that the current debate is about high buildings. It's not enough. It's a step in the right direction to talk about skylines and about composition, but really they should both be an aspect of an urban landscape policy. Robert's already made the point that although we're primarily talking about the Thames, our interest is within the whole of London. Another very important point, that we see this as an example of a policy initiative from a Landscape Institute, and we have prepared a paper arguing for over 100 of such policy initiatives to take place, and so it only seemed fair to have a go at doing one ourselves to start it off, which is why we accepted to do this. But what we're looking to in this respect is what I regard as the glory days of the Landscape Institute, when Hal Moggridge's first boss, Geoffrey Jellicoe, he poured out policy statements, which, that's why we're here today. He created the landscape architecture profession by putting out statements on new towns. He got the word landscape architecture written into the New Towns Act, on the landscape of forestry, of reservoirs, of power, of industry. And that created the work which we now do. And if we want to, as I trust we do, to get the profession more work, to get the profession better work, and to make London and the world a better place, then we believe a lot of effort should go into these policy statements. Robert and I, we'll do one, we're not going to do 100.
Obviously.
And so that's why we've circulated a draft statement, because it needs to come from everybody. Robert and I have drafting assistants, but it comes from everybody. And you can see it written there, and also the link at the bottom there, I've put it on the Garden Visit website. It's not linked into the website, but you can find it. So, the debate, as I say at present, is about high buildings. And when you look from around the world, London's view of them is somewhat anomalous. If you look at lists of the world's top skylines, I've just given you two on the left as representative, one from Arabian Business. They're all skyscraper frontages. One from the Landscape Architecture Network. They're all skyscrapers. And most of them are. There's a whole lot of them. They're all skyscrapers. The only exception I could find was from pps.org, which is a wonderful website, and they like historic cities. And to get some more historic cities, I had to do my own list. And I've given you Istanbul, Varanasi, and my hometown as favourite skylines.
Okay.
Our father was in the army, and when he came out, he was demobbed. He went to live in Woking, and as soon as I was born, we went to Edinburgh. So Edinburgh is my hometown. The case for high buildings is much the same as the case for stilettos. They're a fashion statement. You can tell your partner, you can tell your daughter that they have no function. You're not likely to stop her from wearing them. Correct me if I'm wrong. And there's a very well-considered report from the House of Commons onto the need or otherwise for high buildings. And they say there isn't a case for it. You can accommodate accommodate the development with high-density, low-rise instead. But people want it they want them for branding reasons and as sex symbols. It's a bit like a man buying a sports car. And so, in thinking about them, we're not advocating them. We're saying, where are the least bad places to put these things, if put they must be. Now, this is the view, the protected view, as Robert shown us, of St. Paul's from Fleet Street. And just like a little bit of audience participation, please. The 2000, it's I've extracted the building from it, is as it was. And then, when they built the cheese grater, Richard Rogers designed, they built it as a wedge because that would protect the view of St. Paul's Cathedral. So I've given you three alternatives at the bottom. A shows, can I just have a show of hands for each of them as we go through, please, to which of you prefer? A is what they wanted to build because they've lost half their floor space in protecting the view of St. Paul's. So was it worth it? Have they improved the view of St. Paul's? They have. You prefer this one? You prefer this one to this one because it was boring standard.
No, sorry, what I meant is C, but is
you might be torn apart.
Is the top right better than A? And the top right is better than A.
I see.
I thought that was
okay, well, what about B then? They talk about pepper potting in the city. I've got it from your own airport, this pepper pot. What about C? Does anybody prefer C to the cheese grater?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there wasn't a proper debate about it. But London was, as Robert showed us, a city of spires. You know, the towers of Paul, Surrey Cathedral, Westminster Abbey, they're all now as they were. And it then became a city of blocks. It's a 1980 aerial photograph. And it's amazing how blocky it's become. This is the Commercial Union building. It's now called St. Helens. And then, 2005, it was bursting up further. I mean, that's when it started to go wonky. And since then, we've got these things come to it. A city of towers, you know, city of spires, blocks, towers, I think. And this is a couple of pages from a book I wrote in 1996. And I put in it this cartoon with saying that that was the direction that city seems to be going. And I wrote that it's an anything goes postmodernism, and this pluralist approach gives us the equivalent of a junk shop with perhaps an empty chocolate box, a kettle, and an old TV set. And and so what I think happened, that I drew this diagram as a cautionary tale. And they got to read it in architecture schools, and they thought, well, so this is the next best thing, let's build it. Let's build it. So, what's the next big thing? The city does seem to be mushrooming, and if you look at the pigeons here, they're obviously telling their backs on that development. But what could happen is the tendency of this sort of bulbous-topped buildings could go further. And should that happen, we'd like to see them composed. And it's not such a ridiculous idea as you may think. If you look at the walkie-talkie building, Fenchurch Street, it's got a great sky garden on top. Now, they discovered in the Shard you can charge £25 a person to go and see the view. And the restaurant on top of the Heron Tower is about £150 for a meal. And so there's a real economic case, financial case, I should say, for doing this. And Bevis Marks there, both these are just completing now. Bevis Marks has got an unenclosed roof garden on top, and the walkie-talkie one is a greenhouse being designed by Gillespie's. I'm very happy to see both those things happening. And so that's why I think that the mushroom form may be not quite so ridiculous as your laughter indicated. And so then one wonders what's going to happen to the city underneath. And it's more interesting than you think. And so I couldn't find good enough images of ice caves, because that seems to me the direction that it's going. That it might become, you see it a bit here, the tall glazed buildings, they reflect light into the dark corridors. And look at this. This is the walkie-talkie thing. And it's obviously it's facing south. And look at the light it's reflecting into this previously dark alley. And you could fry an egg outside here at one point, it was so hot. But it's like stage lighting, isn't it? It's got, and then if you look at this photograph, which was taken when Robert and I were walking around, see that black thing there? That's rain. It was pouring with rain when I took the photograph. And it's sheltered, because of the bulbous building. And so it's possible that if there was thoughtful, calculated landscape design for it, that one could make a remarkable environment inside the city, because the high buildings are much closer together than in other cities because of the medieval street pattern. And so it would be possible to arrange it so that it's sheltered, light, and sunny. These are my first thoughts from another book, 1998, about high buildings. And I live in Greenwich. And so I took that photograph when I first got there. And then when this was built in 1997, what I noticed, the urban island in London's Docklands was built between 1985 and 95. Tall buildings look best when they're grouped together. So I might also want to claim credit for the buildings policy. And it's worked. I think it's well composed. I'll come back to that view later on. This is very interesting too. This is Patrick Abercrombie, who was on the council of the Landscape Institute when he did the County of London and the Greater London plans. And he also wrote a book on town planning in practice. It's 1933. And he took just the kind of long-term forward view that we should all be taking. He's really just as important as Jericho in the history and definition of the landscape profession. But look at these cross-sections he's got of cities. It's a wonderful diagram. I'm a connoisseur of diagrams, and this is a most brilliant thing. He shows typical English town at the top, which is London as we know it. And then the garden city, I think he was a bit doubtful about garden cities. I mean, architects, they tended to be a bit sniffy of them because they thought of them as being suburban sprawl. And then a continental town, still within its city wall, like Brussels. The future city is obviously thinking of Manhattan with that, but it looks like a design plan for Canary Wharf, doesn't it? And then I suspect him of favouring the Corbusian city, although he doesn't come out very openly about it, but he liked it. It was a landscape-based plan. The reason for putting people up in Corbusian's time was to free the space at ground level. And if that's our view, we should argue